Chapter 1261. Okay. The Crown Prince nodded with a grin. He pulled her small hand and said, "I'll make it for you to eat when we get back. I want shrimp stuffing." The little fellow raised her head slightly and made a request. The Crown Prince nodded with a smile. Okay. Watching the two leave hand in hand, the eldest young Sir narrowed his eyes. He swept a glance at the fourth princess, who was stammering as someone helped her up, before concealing himself into a side alley with a flash. "Young sir." A shadow guard in black bowed to him. "How is it? Shuntion Prefecture's strongholds within the Mo Kingdom capital have all been uprooted." That person said in a low voice, "That person has begun to secretly make a move against Oni Prefecture again. I'm afraid that it won't be long before all of the 6 prefectures' forces disappear from Mo Kingdom." The eldest young sir chuckled. "Just watch. It has nothing to do with us. Lu Yizhi is dead, and even that good second brother of mine turned a deaf ear to it. Why should I meddle in other people's business? He's the future patriarch of the Qin estate. He's the one who has to worry about and control the overall situation." The eldest young sir's lips curved in a grin. He then waved his hand and said, "Go back. No need to come find me again in the near future." "Yes." That person vanished without a trace in a flash. Eldest Qin chuckled and walked back to the Qin estate. After today's ruckus, that brainless princess probably wouldn't dare to come find him for a while. He was so annoying to this fourth princess recently. How could there be such a shameless woman who didn't know her own worth in this world? Why didn't she look in the mirror and see her own virtue? Although he was amorous and loved all the flowers and plants in the world, he couldn't nibble on just any flower and plant. Sigh, when he thought of that wild and untamed little flower among the flowers, the eldest young sir's eyes couldn't help but narrow. Oh, it was indeed very worrying. Not long after the eldest young sir's figure disappeared, Wang Chung appeared in that small alley. He frowned slightly before disappearing. The second young sir had him follow the eldest young sir, but he didn't find anything suspicious about the eldest young sir even after watching for a long time. In any case, they were all members of the same estate. Presumably, the eldest young sir wouldn't do anything detrimental to the Qin estate. In the evening, in a tea house in the Mo Kingdom capital, 2 beautiful girls were sitting in a private room on the 2nd floor. The waiter who served the tea could not help but sneak a few glances before packing up the tea tray and walking out. "I asked Miss Xian out today because I wanted to talk to you about the matter of those 20,000 mystic currency." Commandery Princess Yi-an smiled rather embarrassedly. "I'm not afraid that Miss Xian will laugh at me. Last time, in order to buy that life-prolonging pill, I practically emptied out all my savings. I had originally planned to gather the money for Miss Xian in the next 2 days, but from the looks of it now, I really can't." As Commandery Princess Yi-an said this, she looked a bit embarrassed. Xian giggled and raised her fan to cover her small mouth. "Miss Xuan, aren't you treating me as an outsider by saying that? Since we're all friends, I don't care about that little bit of money." Commandery Princess Yian's eyes involuntarily brightened, and she quickly said with a smile, "How can I accept this?" Deep down, she really hoped that this Miss Xian would waive her loan of 20,000 mystic currency, but she was too ashamed to say this. Hence, she asked her out and waited for her to waive the loan. Now that she saw Miss Xian being so tactful, Commandery Princess N was secretly happy, but she didn't show it on her face. Chapter 1262. Xuan is definitely going to befriend Miss Xian. Commandery Princess Yi-an raised her teacup and smiled at Xian. Let me toast Miss Xian with tea in place of wine." The two people drank several cups of tea with ulterior motives. It was not until an hour later that Xian stood up to leave. After exiting the tea house, Baoyan couldn't resist looking back and pursing her lips as she mocked. What Commandery Princess N? She can't even return 20,000 mystic currency. Does she think that other people don't know her identity? "Young master, why must you get close to this woman? You talk too much." Xian swept Baoyan a cold glance. "I told you not to follow me. yet you insisted on following me. I have my own matters to attend to. Bao Yan couldn't help but get anxious. You aren't still thinking about that stoic-faced crown princess, right? Last time, we almost couldn't even leave the Mo kingdom capital. What do you know? After saying this, Exenga didn't say anything else and walked towards the tavern with a wave of her hand. He wanted to stay here and find a chance to talk to Lil Blockhead. He wasn't resigned to it. As for Commandery Princess En, she was in an excellent mood after leaving the tea house. She strolled the streets with Su planning to stroll around for a while before returning to the palace. As the saying went, one was free from debt. She had just dumped her 20,000 mystic currency debt, so she planned to go to a jewelry store she was familiar with nearby to pick out a first-rate piece of jewelry for herself to celebrate. Su also appeared extremely happy as she walked beside her. At least that Miss Xin is tactful. It is her great fortune to be able to befriend someone as honorable as Commandery Princess with a mere 20,000 mystic currency. Commandery Princess is peerlessly talented, humble, and gentle. She had begged for 8 lifetimes to be able to befriend Commandery Princess. Commandery Princess pursed her lips as she walked with a smile. Suer had a glib tongue, so as long as she didn't say anything out of line, Ian liked her very much. All of a sudden, Ian stopped in her tracks as her gaze fell on the 2 women who were walking towards her. His originally good mood was suddenly replaced by anger in his heart. Her smile also froze on her face. One of the women walking towards her was wearing a hairpin that was exactly the same as hers, and the style of her clothes was also similar to hers. The yellow mattress matched with the pink skirt. However, the other party's skirt looked slightly more exquisite than hers. There was a group of colorful butterflies embroidered on the hem of the skirt. When she walked, the skirt fluttered and the butterflies danced. It was a beautiful sight. Ian's fury involuntarily erupted from the bottom of her heart. Seeing this, Suer hurriedly turned around and secretly gave the 2 hidden shadow guards a look. Very quickly, the 2 shadow guards caught up with the 2 ladies. After turning a corner, they stopped them in an alley. Ian slowly walked into that alley with Suer, sizing up that young lady who was dressed similarly to her. The more she looked, the more fury in her heart flared up. That woman's appearance was unremarkable. Her eyes were also very small, and her facial features were not even 1/10 of Ian's beauty. At this time, the 2 young ladies that had been stopped by the hidden guards were hugging their heads and curling up into a ball as they gazed at Anne's party with trepidation. "Miss, what business do you have?" Bao Yan walked up and slapped the butterfly skirt girl's face. "Audacious! You actually intend to impersonate our Commandery Princess?" What? The butterfly skirt girl was stupefied at once. She simply couldn't understand why this Commandery Princess in front of her had stopped her. Chapter 1263. According to the little girl's words, it was because her clothes were similar to this Commandery Princess's? But could she be blamed for this? How could she have known that she would get into a conflict with an inexplicable person because of these clothes and this piece of jewelry when she went out today? You're crazy. The other girl next to the girl in the butterfly skirt glared at Commandery Princess En. En was infuriated, and she slowly walked up to her with narrowed eyes. She raised her sleeve and slapped the girl ruthlessly. "How can you insult me, the dignified Commandery Princess En?" That girl was knocked to the ground by this ruthless slap. She shrieked and was about to retaliate when a hidden guard subdued her with a wave of his hand. "No, don't. What do you want to do? You can't be so unreasonable. You can't." The girl in the butterfly skirt looked at Commandery Princess En in terror, but she was subdued by another hidden guard just as she was about to step forward. Someone come quickly, help me. What the hell? How can there be such an unreasonable person in this world?" The girl in the butterfly skirt shrieked as she struggled. Commandery Princess En gazed at her coldly as an excited glint surfaced in her eyes. "Hold them down." "No, don't. Don't." The girl in the butterfly skirt looked in horror at the small knife in Commandery Princess Ian's palm as she shook her head repeatedly while crying. Ian revealed a sinister smile as she stepped forward and suddenly slashed at that girl's face with a knife. Ah! The two girls screamed in pain from the depths of the small alley. Ian continued to wear a gentle smile as she disfigured that girl's face with the knife. As she slashed, she recalled her childhood. She was like a pitiful little bug, huddling in a flock of orioles and swallows as she was kicked and beaten. She seemed to see the Marchioness of Sue-Ann's youngest daughter again, standing in front of her with her head held high and declaring, "Go, strip this D***** girl of her clothes. She really is a little B****tch that is unwilling to be left out. She even dared to secretly wear my old clothes and have delusions of showing her face in front of cousin. Strip her. Beat her to death. Who wants to wear your old clothes? Who wants to wear them? What I, who Shuain, where in the future will definitely be one of a kind in this world. Bitch. Ian's expression was a bit crazed as she slashed the girl in the butterfly skirt's face until that face turned into a bloody mess. Afterwards, she started laughing merrily. Remember not to dress like me in the future. Commandery Princess Ian patted the unconscious girl in the butterfly skirt with her small, bloody hand. The youngest daughter of the Marquis of Sue-Ann, so what if she was honorable? Now, he was still lying in bed like a living dead for years. She gouged out the woman's eyes, pulled out her tongue, broke the tendons in her arms and legs, but did not let her die. See, what a kind person she was. Anyone who went against her would not have a good ending. Princess, the two of them have fainted. Suer's beautiful little face revealed a hint of viciousness and a sinister smile at this moment. Break their limbs, cut off their tongues, strip them naked, and throw them into the nearby brothel. This is just a small punishment for talking back to me without any regard for seniority. Ian said this with a gentle expression. Afterwards, she turned around and left the alley, abandoning the two girls that she did not know as if they were trash. Very quickly, the two tragic passers-by were taken away by the secret guards. Chapter 1264. No one knew that such an inconceivable thing had happened in this alley just now. After Ian exited the alley, she put on her modest and kind commandery princess mask and boarded her carriage, returning to the palace in a good mood. It's been a long time since I went back to the Marquis of Sue-Ann's estate to visit my paralyzed younger sister. Commandery Princess Ian said with a smile. Find a day to go back to the estate and visit her. Sue immediately nodded in understanding and responded with a smile. The carriage followed the spacious limestone path to the palace gates. When the guards saw that it was Commandery Princess Ian's carriage, they immediately let her in. Commandery Princess Ian lifted the curtain and nodded at the guards with a smile. When the carriage stepped onto the palace path and slowly headed for the Queen Dowager's Longevity Palace, Commandery Princess Ian glanced in the direction of the Eastern Palace and thought, "One day, I will become the most honorable woman in Northern Mo. I won't have to live at the whims of others anymore." After the coming-of-age ceremony, the Chow estate started preparing for second uncle's wedding. During this period of time, Wei Ziqin was as busy as a spinning top. In order to get second uncle out of singlehood as soon as possible, the entire family was really pouring in all their energy. In addition, after second uncle's wedding, the crown prince's wedding was just around the corner, so the entire Chow estate was in high spirits. It was as if all the servants and maidservants had been injected with chicken's blood as they busied themselves all day, tidying up here and there, inside and out. This made Arbor, this idler, appear to be an eyesore. In the afternoon, darling Chow was sitting in her small courtyard, drinking tea and eating dried fruits while also flipping through medical books and dozing off. Then she heard from outside that Madame Ran had come. Madame Ran naturally came to find her mother, so it had nothing to do with her. Arbor flipped through the medical books for a while before tossing them to the side, planning to take an afternoon nap under the faint sunlight. Everyone in the room was busy, yet she was the only one who was idle enough to count mosquitoes. Arbor had just closed her eyes when she heard the sound of footsteps coming from the lounge chair. A maidservant hurried over and bowed, saying, "The Crown Princess, the Miss of the Count of Jian-An's estate, has come to visit." Arbor sat up and nodded. "Oh, it's Miss Pei. Invite her in." Soon, the young miss of the Count of Jen An's mansion, Pei Jia, was led over with a personal maidservant. The girl looked to be about 17 years old and was a little shy by nature. When she saw Xiao Mu, she smiled timidly. Greetings to the Crown Prince Consort. Last time, after receiving the Crown Prince Consort's hospitality at Fu Mountain, Mother instructed me to come forward to return the greeting. The maidservant behind her hurriedly stepped forward and tugged at her sleeve. She was speechless in her heart. She was a foolish young miss. How could she say such a thing? As Pei Jia spoke, she felt that there was something wrong with her words. Why did she feel like she was being forced by her mother to return the courtesy? She then looked at Arbor apologetically. I'm sorry, Crown Princess. Pei Jia is clumsy and doesn't know how to speak. Arbor glanced at her and patted the stool beside him. Sit. Arbor had already noticed that during the gathering at Fu Mountain that day, Miss Pei was a little shy and sat in the crowd like a little transparent. If it weren't for Mou and Liang Qingqing teasing her from time to time, she probably wouldn't be able to talk to anyone for the entire day. Her elder brother, Pei Yidao, was also a man of few words, but he seemed to be a considerate person to Miss Li. The Countess of Jian, and was a fortunate person. Arbor nodded. Seeing that Miss Pei's gaze was fixed on the medical book beside her, he asked, Do you want to read it? Chapter 1265. Miss Pei looked a little excited. Can I? Crown Princess. Xiao Mu handed her the medical book with one hand. Miss Pei held it like it was a treasure and flipped through it page by page right in front of Arbor. She looked as if she was intoxicated by it. The servant girl behind her was anxious to death because of her dazed miss. She wanted to reach out her sleeve to tug at her miss. Arbor waved his hand at her. Let her read. She could take a nap. These two oddballs. One of them came as a guest, but after exchanging 3 sentences with the host, she started flipping through the medical book and ignored everyone else. The other seduced the guest with the book, then left the guest alone to take a nap. When Xiaoyao came over, she almost laughed out loud. After changing the cups of hot tea for the 2 young ladies, he waved his hand and instructed the servants to bring the little servant girl beside Miss Pei, who wanted to cry but had no tears, away to rest for a while. The afternoon sun shone lazily. The trees cast mottled shadows and the atmosphere was tranquil. When the servants, who were on stimulants, passed by this quiet courtyard, they couldn't help but slow down their footsteps and lower their voices. Of the 2 girls, one was asleep with a small blanket on her stomach, while the other had her head lowered. She was happily holding a medical book, engrossed in it. When Crown Prince Mo came over, this was the scene he saw, and his lips involuntarily curled into a faint smile. His baby was so adorable no matter what she did. Even when she was sleeping quietly under the big tree, she still looked so beautiful. Your Highness. Xiaoyao, who had come over upon hearing the commotion, was about to salute when Crown Prince Mo waved his hand to stop her. How long has the Crown Princess been asleep? It's been more than half an hour. Prince Mo smiled. Then let her sleep a little longer. I'll go talk to father-in-law first. Yes. Not long after Prince Mo left, the little person sleeping there seemed to have sensed something. Her body moved slightly, and she opened a pair of slightly dazed eyes. Xiao Yao pursed her lips and smiled. She hurriedly ran over to her and said, Miss, you're awake. Did Emolien come by just now? Arbor turned his little face and glanced at Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao's eyes lit up. She nodded and said, Miss, you are so amazing. His Highness the Crown Prince just came by. Seeing that you were still asleep, he went to chat with Master. Oh. Arbor turned his head and saw that Miss Pei was still in the same position as an hour ago, reading the medical book with great interest. He couldn't help but feel speechless. She watched me for as long as I slept? Yes. Xiao Yao giggled and said softly, The tea has been changed twice. Miss Pei was so focused that she didn't even take a sip. The conversation between the master and servant finally attracted the attention of Miss Calligraphy Addict. She hurriedly put down the book, blushing shyly as she looked at Arbor apologetically and said, I am sorry, Crown Princess. I was so engrossed in the medical book that I forgot that I came here to thank you. Ah, Bai Hui, the pastries we brought? Where's Bai Hui? Xiao Yao couldn't help but laugh out loud. Miss Pei, don't worry. We brought that girl to her room to rest for a while. Ah, I'm so sorry. Pei Jia blushed and looked at Arbor. Although her little face was expressionless, her expression was calm and she didn't seem unhappy at all. Pei Jia's heart settled slightly. Crown Princess, I get easily engrossed in books. Chapter 1266. It wasn't my intention to neglect you, Pei Jia said cautiously. At this time, that little girl, Bai Hui, was also brought over. She looked at her young miss with a speechless expression. Madam had repeatedly exhorted her young miss to remember to talk more when she went to other people's homes. In the end, her young miss flipped through books for nearly 2 hours. Arbor waved her hand. Do you like to read medical books a lot? Pei Jia nodded her head vigorously. The little girl, Bai Hui, hurriedly explained on the side, young miss has been congenitally deficient since she was young. She could only meditate and recuperate her body. She couldn't even train her body. A prolonged illness becomes a doctor, and young miss gradually became obsessed with medical skills. Then do you like to refine pills? Alchemist. Pei Jia hurriedly shook her small hand. It's impossible for me to become an alchemist. Although I really yearn for it, an alchemist needs talent. I'm also not very talented in the art of medicine. I'm just blindly pondering. As she spoke, her small hand secretly touched the cover of the medical book, looking reluctant to part with it. Arbor tugged the corners of her mouth, and she thought she revealed a kind smile. Actually, in other people's eyes, she wasn't smiling at all. There's only a 2-year age difference between us. Don't call me Crown Princess or Miss Pei. Let's say our names, the little Crown Princess said to Pei Jia on such a leisurely afternoon. Pei Jia was faintly happy, but she didn't know that this was the joy of making friends. Her health was poor since she was young, and she basically didn't leave the house. Those noble ladies flattered her on the surface because of her family background, but they secretly mocked her behind her back for being a medicine jar. She overheard it once, so she was even more unwilling to go out and gather with others. She was 17 years old this year, but she hadn't discussed marriage yet. Because of her poor health, every family looked down on her. Fortunately, her mother kept comforting her, saying, "My family's daughter is so good. Naturally, there will be a good match for you in the future." Moreover, on Seekong Planet's mainland, there were plenty of people who remarried in their early 20s. However, most of them wasted their time because they painstakingly cultivated. She, on the other hand, was only an ordinary person. Several of her teachers had regretfully told her that with her congenitally deficient body, it was impossible for her to cultivate in this lifetime. Then I'll call you Jojo from now on. Pei Jia revealed a big smile. When the little stoic saw this, she felt that this smile was quite dazzling, so she tried her best to pull out an even bigger smile in return. However, it was a bit difficult for this stoic face to deliberately put on a smile. Judja. The little stoic nodded and handed the medical book to her, saying, "Take it back and read it." With a flick of his wrist, he took Pei Jia's pulse. "You've taken good care of your health. I'll give you a prescription. Boil the medicine according to the prescription twice a day. After half a month, you won't need to take any more medicine." A surprised smile appeared on the little girl Bai Hui's face. She stammered, "Crown Princess, is it true? Miss can get rid of those medicine jars in the future?" Arbor nodded. The two of them chatted for a while more about the medical book before Arbor stood up to see Miss Pei out of the estate. Xiao Yao covered her mouth and chuckled as she followed behind. When the Crown Prince asked about this matter later on, Xiao Yao couldn't resist saying, after Miss Pei came, she sat next to the Crown Princess and quietly flipped through the book, accompanying the Crown Princess for an afternoon nap. After waking up, the two of them hit it off. Prince Emo couldn't help but be speechless upon hearing this. 5 days later, the Chow estate joyfully welcomed second uncle's marriage. I'll update more tonight. Chapter 1267. Early in the morning, Marchioness Wei Ziqin busied herself with a group of servants. Qiao Zhongbong greeted the guests in the front courtyard, a smile on his face the entire time. He was happy for his second brother from the bottom of his heart. Although the wedding was a bit rushed, they wouldn't leave out anything that was necessary. After more than 10 years, second uncle was getting married again. He was a bit flustered and made a few mistakes early in the morning. In order to be on time, second uncle brought the groom's escorts out more than 2 hours in advance. The bride had been brought to the Ran estate a day earlier. The two residences were neither close nor far. They would be able to bring her home within 2 hours and wouldn't delay the wedding ceremony. Arba wore a rare jubilant red dress and specially ran to Brother Xiao Hu's courtyard to see him. As soon as she entered, she heard Brother Xiao Hu quietly complaining to Xiao Yao, "Xiao Yao, I'm not Fua. Look at what I'm wearing. What do I look like? Today's old dad's wedding, not mine." Xiao Yao softly spat at him. Xiao Hu chuckled and went up to hug her. "Xiao Yao, don't you think it's time for our wedding to be on the agenda?" "Bah." Xiao Yao rolled her eyes at him. "Who's with you?" At this moment, the little fellow jumped out like a candle and called out, "Brother Xiao Hu." Startled, the couple hugging each other swiftly retracted their hands. They coughed lightly and hurriedly adjusted their collars. Arba paced to the two with her little paws behind her back and circled around them. "Brother Xiao Hu, if you want to marry Xiao Yao, you have to ask me first." Xiao Hu immediately went up with a silly smile and rubbed his hands. "Younger sister, you won't watch your older brother be a bachelor for the rest of his life, right?" "That's hard to say." Xiao Mu tilted her small head and stood in front of Xiao Yao. "Our Xiao Yao's conditions are so good, so who can't you find?" Xiao Hu panicked when he heard this. He hurriedly grabbed his sister's small hand. "Little sister, you can't trick your brother." Arba glanced at him, took out a box, and threw it to him. "For you." "What is it, little sister?" "The answer is your Xian-breaking pill." Xiao Hu couldn't help but open it and take a look. There were 2 round Xian-breaking pills inside. They were really beautiful. "Little sister, you're so good to us." Xiao Hu smiled foolishly and rubbed the back of his head. "Let's go. I still have to help Mother greet the guests." "Crown Princess, I will go with you." Xiao Yao hurriedly left Xiao Hu behind and caught up with Arba. "Along the way," she said, "when I was coming over just now, I heard that eldest Miss and Miss Biao had returned." Arba stared blankly for a while before realizing that Xiao Yao was talking about Xiao Wanxiu and her daughter. Nodding, he brought Xiao Yao to his mother's courtyard. Arba asked, "That whatever Yuan, did he make trouble for the mother and daughter?" According to Mrs. Instructions, Lord Pang took care of them for a few days. The situation has improved a bit, but that Zhou Yuan is like a mad dog. We can't get rid of him. Arba nodded. Every family had its own problems. She was just an unmarried little girl, so she couldn't stretch her hands too far. She had to take care of everything. In any case, she could just leave these miscellaneous matters to her parents. Her father was her cousin Pu Rulan's proper uncle. With this identity as an elder, he could naturally make decisions for Pu Rulan. Chapter 1268. When Arba brought Xiao Yao to second uncle's new courtyard, he saw his mother busily giving orders to this and that, running around in circles with a group of servants. "Hurry, hurry, the newlyweds are about to arrive. Everyone, move nimbly. Hey, bring the wedding cake into the house." The old nanny who followed Wei Ziqin by her side called out to the servants who were coming and going. When she looked up and saw Arba and Xiao Yao, she smiled so widely that her eyes could not be seen and went forward to welcome them. "Crown Princess, Miss Xiao Yao, you're here. Madam is busy right now." "It's fine, I just came to take a look." Idla rubbed her small chin. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Spring had begun, and the air had already warmed up. Wei Ziqin paced back and forth in the new courtyard a few times, the tip of her nose sweating. Seeing her daughter come over, she hurried forward and smiled as she held her daughter's small hand. Jojo, there are so many things to do today, and there are so many people. Fortunately, your eldest aunt came early and can still help me now. Oh, that's right, Jojo, you haven't met eldest aunt and cousin yet, right? Come, come, come. Wei Ziqin held her daughter's small hand and gave Nanny Chiu a few more instructions before calling into the house. Wan Chiu, Rulin, come quickly, our Jojo is here. 2 women walked out of the house. The older one was wearing a long, golden-blue straight-collared gown with long sleeves. Her makeup did not seem to be expensive jewelry. When she looked at Arbor, she smiled and nodded. Jojo, you still recognize eldest aunt. The younger woman's face was very gentle and delicate. She wore a long dress with an Aquarius collar and her hair was tied up in a woman's bun. A wooden hairpin was inserted into her clean hair, and she wore a wooden bracelet on her wrist. She looked exceptionally simple. Arbor stepped forward and nodded at Qiao Wanxiu and her daughter. Eldest aunt. Cousin. Jojo, good boy, I don't have any valuable gifts for you. Keep this well. It's a small token of appreciation from elder auntie. Qiao Wanxiu gave Arbor a pure gold bracelet. The quality wasn't too good. Among the pile of gold and jade in Arbor, it could be said to be second best. If it were any other young ladies who despised the poor and loved the rich, they might even mock their poor relatives. Yet Qiao Mu accepted it without another word. She nodded at Qiao Wanxiu and expressionlessly said, "Thank you, auntie." Qiao Wanxiu smiled happily. Back then, when auntie brought your cousin back to Kwoto village, you were still young and might not remember. This is your cousin, Rulin. Pu Rulin stepped forward and smiled. Cousin. All right, mother and your eldest aunt still have a lot of things to do. Help mother take care of cousin. Wei Ziqin chuckled as she pulled Qiao Wanxiu and was about to leave. Just as they were about to leave, a breathless woman hurriedly ran over and beamed from ear to ear. They're here, they're here, they're here. The bridal sedan is almost at the intersection. Aya, hurry, hurry, go to the door to welcome them. Are the gongs and drums ready? Where's the drummer? Where's the drummer? Madam is ready. Let's hurry to the door. Arbor speechlessly glanced at her mother's departing figure. Her mother was busy with fetching the bride, and she had become an idle person again. She turned to look at Pu Rulin and said, Cousin, let's go to Xiao Lin Er's courtyard. It's a bit too chaotic here. Pu Rulin smiled and nodded. Okay. The two of them exited the new courtyard and turned to Xiao Lin Er's courtyard. However, halfway there, they ran into the young lady who was rushing over. Chapter 1269. There were a lot of guests that came today, and the gatehouse was busy receiving the gifts and announcing the names. The Marquis of Su An's estate's madam has arrived. The old madam of Duke Qing's estate has arrived. The manservants and maids ran back and forth in waves, taking away a group of people, and then another group of people came. It really was as busy as a marketplace, with an endless stream of people. Wei Ziqin and Qiao Zhongbang were in the front courtyard and back garden respectively, receiving the male and female guests that came to visit. Prince Mo took a stroll around the Marquis's estate. When he found his dainty little wife, that little fellow was sitting leisurely on a swing, cracking melon seeds and chatting with her younger sister, Qiao Lin. Pu Rulin raised her head and saw a tall and slender young master walking towards them. She hastily stood up and quickly walked to the swing to give a reminder. Younger cousin, someone's coming. Brother-in-law's coming. Qiao Lin immediately jumped down from the swing and held Pu Rulin's hand with a smile. Older cousin, that's His Highness the Crown Prince. Pu Rulin hurriedly curtsied. Arbor was still swaying on the swing, looking up at the man walking over. Why are you in the back courtyard? I'm here to see if my Jojo is slacking off again. Emolien walked over with a smile, waving his hand for Pu Rulin to get up and not be overly courteous. Arbor cast a glance at him and lightly snorted. There are so many orioles and swallows outside, I don't have the time to greet them one by one. Today was second uncle's wedding, and mother had reminded her 2 or 3 days in advance that she absolutely couldn't throw a tantrum. Everyone who came was a guest, so don't hit a guest without a word. So ridiculous, did she need Mother to remind her? It wasn't like she was crazy. If others didn't come to provoke her, how could she go crazy and hit them? The most annoying one was that whatever fourth princess, who had run to the great king and fiercely complained about her. She said that she beat her up until she couldn't see anyone. She was simply crazy. When had she ever hit this fourth princess? She didn't even know the fourth princess, okay? Thinking of this, he glanced at Emolienne with some displeasure. He thought to himself, his house is the place with the most women in the world, so annoying. Prince Emo saw the look in his wife's eyes and hurriedly moved his head over to look at her with a smile. What's wrong? Why are you looking at your husband like that? What did I do wrong? Tell me, tell me. Jolin, who had long been used to the crown prince showing off his affection to her sister, covered her mouth and snickered. On the other hand, Pu Rulan was rather surprised. For a moment, he didn't think that His Highness, who looked so high and mighty, was actually such a person. Arba glared at him and pushed his hand away. Cousin is here. We're all on the same side, Prince Emo smiled and grabbed Arba's little hand. We can't take a nap today. What should I do? I'm going to sleep in the afternoon. During this period of time, idlers like Mu Tian took a nap and used her free time to draw talismans. She was simply too carefree. Pei. Arba blushed and glared at him. This guy only knew how to tease her. Today was second uncle's wedding. Could it be that she could abandon the guests in the house and take a nap alone in her room? Prince Emo smiled and rubbed the little fellow's face. I'm not teasing you. I'm just worried that you can't take a nap. You're not allowed to say it. Arba punched him and turned her head away with a stoic expression. Jojo. Emolienne reached out and cupped her little head. Chapter 1270. Emolienne gazed at her with curved eyes and chuckled softly. There are still 15 days left. Arba rolled her eyes at him, but the corners of her lips involuntarily curled up. When Xiao Lin heard this, she couldn't help covering her mouth and sniggering happily. Yet Pu Rulan asked softly in confusion, "What does Crown Prince mean?" Xiao Lin whispered the wedding date in Pu Rulan's ear, and Pu Rulan immediately understood and nodded with a smile. Brother-in-law, you have to prepare a big red packet. Xiao Lin sat at the stone table and shouted toward the swing from afar. Emolienne looked over and nodded with a smile. Okay. Seventh Master Mu is here. Arba sat in the rear courtyard and could hear the excited shouts from the front courtyard. Her gaze turned cold. What's wrong, baby? Emolienne was slightly taken aback. His wifey was still in an extremely good mood just now, but now her small face had turned gloomy. She really changed so quickly. However, that seventh master of the Mu family of the Divine Province was also quite strange. He came on Jojo's coming-of-age ceremony and also came on Qiao family's second uncle's wedding, as if he was very familiar with the Qiao family. At this time, several excited shouts came from the front courtyard. Everyone stood up and looked at Mu Jingrui, who strode in from the front door. They smiled and cupped their fists in salute. The white-haired elder haughtily carried a large brocade box as he followed behind Mu Jingrui. His gaze was somewhat disdainful. In his eyes, this group of brats from the lower star domain were indeed as weak as ants. Mu Jingrui presented a big gift on this trip, the Snow Summit Lingji. When the Lingji was presented, everyone's eyes were practically glowing as they stared at the spirit herb. Especially the few doctors and pill refiners among the guests. They stared at the divine herb, wishing they could pounce on it and examine it carefully. The smile on Qiao Zhongbong's lips stiffened slightly. The groom, Qiao Zhongxing, stepped forward in confusion and cupped his fists at Mu Jingrui, saying, "Thank you," in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. It was so strange. He had no interaction with this seventh Master Mu from the Divine Land. Why did this person give him a wedding gift out of the blue? Congratulations. Congratulations. Mu Jingrui smiled and said a few polite words. Suddenly, there was a small commotion in the crowd. Naturally, they parted to the sides like a tide. The little crown princess and Prince Mo walked over hand in hand, their little faces cold and expressionless. Their eyes were like daggers as they stabbed at Mu Jingrui and the white-haired elder. "What are you doing here?" Abba was about to take a step forward when his mother, Wei Ziqin, rushed over and grabbed his little hand. "Jojo." Wei Ziqin hurriedly shook her head. Abba glared at Mu Jingrui with a cold gaze that implied a warning. Mu Jingrui instantly understood the little fellow's meaning. "Don't speak nonsense." This was warning him not to reveal her identity as the daughter of the Mu family of the Divine Land in front of so many people, right? Just how much did she dislike the Mu family, and how much did she not want to be involved with the Mu family? Mu Jingrui sighed softly in his heart. He subconsciously glanced at Prince Mo and frowned slightly. This crown prince's aura also seemed a bit off. When Mu Jingrui was sizing him up, Prince Mo also sized him up. A trace of hesitation flitted across his heart. "Ha ha ha ha, today is second uncle's big day. I didn't come late, right? Today's over. Wave." Chapter 1271. At this moment, a white-robed, skinny pretty boy appeared at the door. He brought a large chest of gifts and was escorted in by a large entourage. More than a dozen servants circled around him, shouting as they entered the door. The pretty boy's gaze flickered as he swept his gaze over everyone present and revealed a reserved smile. Next to him was a well-developed woman around 25 or 26 years old. She was gorgeously dressed and her hair was covered in pearls and jade. She had an arrogant attitude and raised her chin as she held onto the pretty boy's arm. Her ample bosom was pressed against the pretty boy's arm. It could be said that none of the officials and family members of the various dukes and marquises' estates, as well as the young masters and young misses of the aristocratic families, had such a grand display of extravagance. The dozen or so servants were all dressed in the same manner and had palm-sized copper coins hanging from their necks. Everyone stared at them strangely, feeling that they were full of the aura of nouveau riche. "Ha ha ha. Oh my, second uncle-in-law's big day today. Sorry. I'm late. A fat ball emerged from the back of the crowd. She was dressed in bright red and green clothes and her face was smeared like a monkey's butt. At first glance, she looked like a matchmaker. Fat Ball moved her feet and arrived in front of Second Uncle Chow with a smile. Second Uncle Chow subconsciously took a step back, and his expression instantly became extremely unsightly. Chow Mu looked at the uninvited nouveau riche in confusion. As she looked at the pretty boy surrounded by people, a name faintly popped up in her mind. "Zhou Yuan, what are you doing here?" Chow, who took a step forward and tightly clenched his fists, his face full of anger. Abba turned his head and glanced at Pu Ruolan. He saw that her face was slightly pale and her eyes faintly revealed a trace of anger. Clearly, she had not expected that her ex-husband would make a public appearance in this kind of situation. "Scram! You're not welcome here." Second Uncle Chow angrily shouted with a cold expression. "Second Uncle, is there some misunderstanding about me?" The pretty boy looked at them with a chuckle. Fat Ball hurriedly came forward and said with a smile, "Second uncle-in-law, today is your big day, so don't get angry. Come on, bring all the gifts up here. Second uncle, this is just a small token of appreciation from our Zhou family." Preposterous. Second Uncle Chow was furious. He was about to step forward when his elder brother, Chow Zhongbong, stopped him. "What have you come here for?" Chow Zhongbong sneered and shouted at Zhou Yuan. "You little bastard, you dare come here to ask for a beating? Get out of my sight." Zhou Yuan subconsciously shrank back, looking like a coward. Chow Zhongbong and his brother were infuriated. "Eldest uncle, second uncle, please don't misunderstand. Your nephew's visit today has no other intentions than to congratulate second uncle on his wedding." The pretty boy Zhou Yuan said in a low voice, looking as if he had been wronged. Chow Wanxiu, who was standing at the side, had long been angered by his shameless behavior. Her entire body was trembling, and her face was pale. "Mother, Pu Rulan supported her mother and stubbornly pursed her lips, not saying anything for a while. Eldest uncle-in-law, second uncle-in-law, our family's Xiao Yuan was young and ignorant in the past, so he spoke without thinking and wanted to divorce his wife. Fat Ball smiled ingratiatingly and stepped forward to grab Pu Rulan's hand, but she pulled back and avoided it. The fake smile on Fat Ball's face froze. Chapter 1272. Enduring the anger of slapping her former daughter-in-law, that Fat Ball, Zhou Yuan's mother, laughed dryly and said, "Daughter-in-law, go back with mother-in-law. It's just a small conflict with husband. There's no need to escalate it to the point of divorce. Don't worry, mother-in-law has already taught him a harsh lesson. Xiao Yuan will definitely not mention the matter of divorce to you in the future." When Xiao Lin heard this, she jumped up in anger and blocked Pu Rulan's path with a livid face. "Are you crazy? You've already obtained the divorce document and stamped it with the official seal. How can this matter be faked? Go away. My older cousin already has nothing to do with your Zhou family. What does a child like you know? Don't meddle in adult matters. Go, go, go." Zhou Yuan's mother waved her hand in exasperation, then turned to face Pu Rulan with a smile. "Daughter-in-law, it's said that between husband and wife, they fight at the head of the bed and reconcile at the end of the bed. You can't be so angry with Xiao Yuan over such a small matter. Be obedient and go home with mother-in-law." No one had expected that such a scene would occur on such a joyous day. The guests all looked at each other in dismay. Second Uncle Qiao was so angry that his eyes were about to spit fire. He roared angrily at the door, "Where is everyone? What are you all standing there for? Throw this entire family out." After speaking, he stepped forward and kicked the gift box several times, kicking out some of the silks, satins, porcelain, paintings, and the like. He stepped forward and stomped on them several times. The woman beside Zhou Yuan, whose hair was adorned with pearls and jade and was dressed like a peacock, shrieked and rushed forward to push Second Uncle Qiao away. Without waiting for Zhou Yuan to go forward and pull her away, that woman pointed at Second Uncle and cursed, "You pauper, who do you think you are? I gave you face, but you don't want it. These porcelain, calligraphy, and paintings are all famous works of art. You can't buy them even if you have money. You actually dare to trample on them like this. Chi-Chi, don't be angry, don't be angry." Zhou Yuan's mother hastily grabbed the Gao family's daughter's small hand fawningly. When she looked at Second Uncle Qiao, there was a hint of anger on her face. "Second Uncle, you're really ruining our good intentions." Zhou Yuan's mother wailed, "Originally, my daughter-in-law and son had always been fine. Ever since you took her back, she didn't recognize any of her family. She didn't even want her husband and mother-in-law. This is truly a sin brought upon by the heavens. Why don't you send a lightning bolt to kill this unfilial daughter-in-law?" Wei Ziqin was so angry that her whole body trembled. Today was her second uncle's wedding. She didn't expect that so many widows would come and ruin a good marriage. "Men, throw them all out." Wei Ziqin was so angry that she felt dizzy. She waved her hand and roared. The servants of the Qiao family all rushed over, but before they could even get close to Zhou Yuan and the others, they were pushed and shoved by the dozen or so retainers of the Zhou family. They raised their fists and looked like they were about to start fighting. Wouldn't this mess turn the entire wedding into a mess? Pu Rulan was so angry that her eyes were bloodshot. Supporting her mother, Qiao Wenxiu, she took a step forward and said angrily, "Stop. Zhou Yuan, you heartless and unscrupulous thing. There's a divorce agreement between us as proof, so we've long had nothing to do with each other. You actually have the face to take advantage of second uncle's wedding to come cause trouble. What did you say?" Zhou Yuan's mother immediately widened her eyes and glared angrily. What bullshit divorce agreement? In short, this old mother won't admit it. As long as you're the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family, you'll be the ghost of the Zhou family until you die. Chapter 1273. Bulsh*T. In order to marry the Gao family's daughter, your son wants to divorce my older cousin. Before Xiao Hu could finish his sentence, he was pounced on by that cursed old woman. Xiao Yao hurriedly pulled him to her side, preventing him from being pounced on by that old woman. Old Qiao family is unreasonable. Old Qiao family is abusing their power to bully others. Zhou Yuan's mother suddenly sat down and began to bawl like a shrew. The crowd of officials, nobles, madams, and noble ladies all looked at each other in dismay, their expressions awkward. In this situation, was it better for them to leave or stay? My son wants to marry the Gao family's daughter, but why don't you ask the lords and young masters present, which of their families doesn't have a few beautiful wives and concubines? Your old Qiao family is too overbearing. Could it be that when your Qiao family's daughter marries, the husband's family is not allowed to take in concubines and take in co-wives? Zhou Yuan's mother slapped her thigh and bawled. She scrambled up from the ground and tugged on a certain official's robe, yelling, "This official, please be the judge for this little woman. Isn't their Qiao family being too unreasonable?" The man didn't expect this village woman to use such a trick. He immediately retreated in embarrassment, but he couldn't stop the corner of his robe from falling into the old woman's hands. After tugging back and forth, he heard a ripping sound and the corner of the man's robe was torn off by the old woman. His face turned green on the spot. Qiao Zhongbang was enraged and kicked Zhou Yuan's mother. "Get out of my way! Is Official Su all right?" Qiao Zhongbang looked apologetically at that green-faced official. "Someone come quickly, bring Official Su to change his clothes." After Zhou Yuan's mother took a kick from Qiao Zhongbang, she lay on the ground and stammered. She clutched her chest and pretended to be in unbearable pain. Old Qiao family is going to kill someone. Mother. The pretty boy Zhou Yuan quickly stepped forward and helped his pretentious mother up from the ground. He turned to glare at Pu Rulin and berated, "You stupid woman, don't you think you've lost enough face? Hurry and come home with us." Pu Rulin supported her mother, who was so angry that her entire body was trembling. She coldly gazed at Zhou Yuan and said, "You and I have already separated." Zhou Yuan pointed at Pu Rulin and cursed, "You vicious woman, are you trying to anger my mother to death? My mother said that she doesn't recognize this divorce." Pu Rulin, don't think you can ride over your husband and mother-in-law just because you have the Marquis of Jiyuan's estate backing you up. You wicked woman. Causing trouble all day long, making the whole family restless. Look at what you've become. Why didn't he learn from Chi-Chi and see the big picture? Chi-Chi doesn't even mind letting me marry you as a co-wife. What else are you dissatisfied with? Qiao Wenxiu was so angry that she leaned backwards. She pointed a trembling finger at Zhou Yuan and said, "You little bastard. Back then, in order to marry the daughter of the Gao family, you first wanted to demote your wife to a concubine. Our Rulin refused no matter what, so you colluded with your mother to fabricate a crime for our Rulin, wanting to have her divorced and become a nun. Now, you see that Rulin's uncle is the Marquis of Jiyuan's estate, so you want to turn around and coax our Rulin back. You. How can there be such a shameless, black-hearted mother and son in this world?" Qiao Wenxiu was so angry that she couldn't stop wiping her tears. Zhou Yuan's mother's eyes darted around. She slapped her thigh and wailed, "I've been wronged, I've been greatly wronged. You're making slanderous accusations. When did we say that we wanted to divorce Rulin?" Chapter 1274. It's just that Rulin is jealous and refuses to accept the Gao family's miss. That's why things have turned into such a complicated situation. All the young masters and masters present here, please be the judge of this. This Qiao family's daughter is jealous by nature. Zhou Yuan's mother exclaimed with great pretense, "If she's like this, who would dare to marry your old Qiao family's daughter in the future?" Her eyes darted around, and then she shouted loudly, "I heard that your Qiao family's eldest daughter is going to marry into the palace to be the crown prince's consort. Could it be that you can request His Highness the Crown Prince to only guard your old Qiao family's daughter for the rest of his life?" And you won't allow His Highness to have 18 consorts from the 3 palaces and 9 courtyards? Everyone speechlessly looked at each other in bewilderment. Strangely enough, this fire had spread to His Highness the Crown Prince. His Highness was being shot while lying down. At this time, a magnetic voice chuckled, "That's right, it's not just 18 consorts from the 3 palaces and 9 courtyards, it might even be multiplied." Prince Mo, who was being shot while lying down, narrowed his phoenix eyes and looked around. "Duan Yu, don't think that this Crown Prince can't recognize your voice just because you're speaking in such an eccentric manner. You're always trying to dig a hole to bury me. Dream on. Jojo wouldn't believe you." Prince Mo held Aba's small hand as he coldly swept a glance at that foolish woman, Zhou Yuan's mother. "You old woman, you dare to speak nonsense and slander this prince?" Zhou Yuan's mother was completely flabbergasted. She dazedly looked up at that handsome man who was like a god. Her mouth actually felt a bit dry. Your Highness the Crown Prince?" So it turned out that the rumor that the Crown Prince doted on the Qiao family's eldest daughter immensely was true. The marriage of a mere second Master Qiao, who had no scholarly achievements, was originally a very ordinary marriage. Just because he was eldest Miss Qiao's second uncle, the Crown Prince actually came to give face? No wonder when her old man learned that Pu Rulan's eldest uncle was the Marquis of Jeyuan's estate. He rained down a torrent of abuse on her and her son, saying that they were short-sighted and only cared about what was in front of them. He insisted that they bring extravagant gifts to coax his daughter-in-law, Pu Rulan, back. So there was such a relationship between them. If the Zhou family and old Qiao family could become in-laws again, with eldest Miss Qiao's relationship with the Crown Princess, the Zhou family would definitely have a meteoric rise in the future. Zhou Yuan's mother hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed with a fawning expression. "This commoner did not know that your Highness was here." This commoner misspoke. With Emolyen's status, she naturally wouldn't lower herself to the level of a stupid woman. She was too lazy to care anymore and moved her gaze away. Zhou Yuan hurriedly stepped forward and cupped his hands with a flattering smile. "Your Highness Crown Prince, this is all a misunderstanding. It was originally a family matter, but now it has become a joke in front of His Highness the Crown Prince and everyone else." Gao Qiqi twisted her plump body and held Zhou Yuan's arm in a show of force. She glanced at Pu Rulan arrogantly and disdainfully. "Don't pretend. You should be happy that your husband and mother-in-law are willing to come and pick you up. It's better to know when to stop. If it weren't for Big Brother exhorting her to be patient, she wouldn't have let this be *TCH enter the Zhou family's doors again. In any case, her husband had already promised her. Now, she was only coaxing this stupid woman back for the sake of the Marquis of Jeyuan's estate. Once she used the Marquis's estate's influence to establish a relationship with the Crown Prince, this stupid woman would be useless in the future. She could do whatever she wanted with her. She was the daughter of the richest family in the Mo Kingdom capital's Gao family. Her family had so much food that they couldn't finish it. Chapter 1275. Now that she, Gao Qiqi, was willing to marry into this tiny Zhou family, it was the Zhou family's good fortune accumulated over several lifetimes. If the Zhou family didn't properly curry favor with her, would they dare to treat her unfairly? As for that slut Pu Rulan, she was just a bit luckier and was able to recognize a relative from the Marquis of Jeyuan's estate. Otherwise, she would have to live in a run-down temple and eat chaff and pickles. You actually dare. Qiao Wenxiu gazed at the arrogant Gao Qiqi and felt even more heartache for her daughter. Back then, if her domineering mother-in-law hadn't cried and made a fuss and forced her daughter Rulan to marry into the Zhou family, how could there be so many troublesome matters now? Thinking about it made her even sadder. She was just a useless bun. It was her fault. It was all her fault. She didn't protect her daughter well. She was cowardly and useless. She didn't dare to resist, which led to the current situation. Zhou Yuan, you little bastard. You still dare to bring her to our Qiao family. Second Uncle Qiao was so angry that his head was about to explode. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many guests here, he would have raised his fist and beaten Zhou Yuan, this little bastard, to death. Zhou Yuan was still a bit afraid of his two uncles, Qiao Zhongbang and second uncle Qiao, and shrank behind Gao Qiqi when he heard this. Gao Qiqi puffed out her chest and waved her hand forcefully. Two vigorous body cultivators walked out from behind them. They crossed their arms and looked disdainfully at the Qiao family crowd with cold eyes. These two body cultivators were newly hired bodyguards by the Gao family. Compared to the body cultivators who had injured second uncle Qiao and little Tiger, they were 2 levels stronger. Their 2 bulky arms brimming with explosive power and bulging muscles crossed their arms in front of their chests. The moment the 2 body cultivators from the Gao family appeared, they subdued the group of madams and noble ladies. They retreated in fright, afraid that the fight would affect the innocent. Gao Qiqi swept a mocking glance at Pu Ruolin. Pu Ruolin, don't be so shameless. What are you still standing there for? Take her away. Qiao Wenxiu grasped her daughter's arm tightly in fright and shrieked, You dare! Don't touch my daughter! Don't touch her! Gao Qiqi walked in front of Pu Ruolin and arrogantly raised her head. She glanced at Pu Ruolin from the corner of her eyes. The Marquis' estate can support you for a day, but can it support you for a lifetime? Pu Ruolin, I advise you to quit while you're ahead. Don't embarrass yourself and your mother-in-law. Anger flashed in Pu Ruolin's eyes as she abruptly raised her hand, looking like she was going to slap her. Zhou Yuan's mother shrieked, What are you doing? Why do I have such an ignorant daughter-in-law? Look at Qiqi. She's the dignified daughter of the Gao family. A pure and innocent little girl like her doesn't mind sharing a husband with you. Why are you still being so pretentious? Slap. Gao Qiqi slapped Pu Ruolin's hand away and fiercely slapped her. Pu Ruolin stretched out her small hand and covered her face that had been slapped. Her eyes immediately turned red. Gao Qiqi smiled and shook her hand. She laughed mockingly and provocatively. Coward, why don't you make a move? I don't think you have the guts. You're just a good-for-nothing with a dead father, yet you still want to compete with me? I, Gao Qiqi, am willing to be so benevolent and let you enter the Zhou family anew. That's already thinking highly of you. You shameless thing, slut. Hit me. Hit me if you want. Pu Ruolin, I don't think you dare to hit me. Chapter 1276. Auber blinked, then blinked again. Suddenly, she pattered to Pu Ruolin and Gao Qiqi's side. When the young masters present saw the crown princess's actions, the corners of their mouths twitched. Slap, slap, slap. Ha ha ha. Sure enough, the little crown princess was funny when she didn't make a move. After giving Gao Qiqi 3 slaps, she ignored the stupefied Gao Qiqi. The little crown princess turned to look at her older cousin with a puzzled expression and asked, Older cousin, others have repeatedly invited you to hit her. Why aren't you doing anything? Invite, 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 invite. Left. Situ Yi's hand, which was waving the folding fan, stiffened slightly. Gao Qiqi seemed to be frozen in place. After a few seconds of stupefaction, she suddenly shrieked. The little crown princess suddenly waved her hand and sprinkled a handful of powder at Gao Qiqi's face. When the surrounding people saw this, they immediately retreated in fright, afraid that this inexplicable powder would contaminate them and cause them to be caught in the crossfire. Ah! Abba! 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 The moment Gao Qiqi opened her mouth to speak, she discovered that she seemed to have been poisoned into a mute. She had no voice at all and could only make a few basic Abba Abba sounds. She looked at Auber in horror. The 3 kilograms of powder on her face kept falling down because her facial muscles were trembling in fear. Abba Abba! Abba Abba! Gao Qiqi reached out to grab Zhou Yuan's hand and shook it vigorously. Zhou Yuan immediately put on a fierce front and angrily said, What did you do to Qiqi? Zhou Yuan's mother also shrieked, Old Qiao's family is too unreasonable. As the saying goes, it's better to tear down 10 temples than to ruin a marriage. You people actually all encouraged my daughter-in-law to run away from home. Now you're doing this to our Qiqi. Without waiting for the little crown princess to make a move, a chubby, bald little monk popped out from the side and angrily shouted, "Old benefactor, you're wrong to say that. Your daughter-in-law ran away, so why did you go and tear down our temple? You're simply unruly, eccentric, and unreasonable." Zhou Yuan's mother looked at the little monk who had suddenly appeared with a stupefied expression. Abba did not wait for her to howl again. In a flash, he appeared in front of them. A blue light flashed in his hand, and more than 10 ebony bodies securing talismans flew out. Set, set, set. After one round, other than the 2 body cultivators with similar cultivation to her, who struggled free after being immobilized, everyone else was immobilized on the spot. They were all immobilized on the spot, and each of them was in a strange posture. It was finally quiet. Abba waved his hand. "Move them out. It's the crown princess." The servants of the Qiao family swarmed forward, some carrying and some dragging the Zhou family out. When they were moving the Zhou family out, they even pinched them a few times. Gao Qiqi watched in horror as those manservants came up to carry her away. She was thrown out of the Marquis estate's main gate by the Qiao family without any resistance. "Throw it further away. It's annoying to look at it," Abba instructed, then turned to look at the 2 frozen body cultivators from the Gao family. "What? Waiting for a meal?" The 2 body cultivators glanced at her, and one of them quickly swept his eyes over everyone. "Little miss, you're a talisman practitioner, right?" Abba waved his hand, and a thunder spirit talisman appeared in his hand. "It looks like you want to try it." "That's fine." Abba nodded, his cold electric gaze shooting a glance at Mu Jingrui and Old Bai. "I'll let you experience it." Chapter 1277. This was the Thunder Spirit Talisman that she had just learned. When the Thunder Spirit energy exploded on her body, she was afraid that it would be a little uncomfortable. The little fellow couldn't be bothered to say more. With a flick of her finger, the 2 Thunder Spirit Talismans shot towards the 2 body cultivators like arrows released from a bow. With a wave of her hand, a defensive barrier was set up around the 2 of them. This was to prevent the spiritual energy from the Thunder Spirit Talisman from spilling out and harming others. Otherwise, Abba wouldn't have to do something so superfluous. After all, there were many guests here, and they were all people of status. She didn't want to hurt anyone, as there would be a lot of chatter later. The 2 ebony Thunder Spirit Talismans instantly split open above the 2 body cultivators' heads, and the talisman energy instantly burrowed into their bodies. In just a breath's time, strange changes began to occur above their heads. A bolt of Thunder Spirit energy that tore through the air suddenly descended, landing above their heads with a rumble. Accompanied by the sound of thunder and a flash of lightning, the 2 body cultivators felt as if they had been struck by lightning, and they immediately felt an indescribable pain in their bodies. "Bzzzt, bzzzt." Their faces instantly darkened, and their hair was charred black when the lightning touched them. This was only the first bolt of lightning. In the next 2 minutes, a total of 9 bolts of lightning fell. When the last bolt of lightning exploded above their heads with a rumble, the 2 body cultivators' heads rolled. The 2 unlucky body cultivators rolled their eyes at the same time and fell to the ground with a plop. Just like that, 2 13th-level body cultivators were struck unconscious by a small talisman. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at the little crown princess standing in front of them. Upon seeing this, Qiao Mu creased her brows slightly and muttered to herself, "I thought it could strike down 12 bolts of lightning." On the other side, the white-haired elder's mouth was slightly agape, and he looked at Abba in disbelief. This girl could actually draw one of the 5 spirit talismans, the Thunder Spirit Talisman? One had to know that those who could draw the 5 spirit talisman were all talisman geniuses, 1 in 10,000. Even if their talisman clan possessed the inheritance of 5 spirit talismans, the number of talisman masters that were capable of drawing 5 spirit talismans didn't exceed 100. Among the younger disciples, the only ones who could draw such professional Thunder Spirit Talismans were probably the Mu family's eldest young master and eldest young mistress. Furthermore, the high-grade Thunder Spirit Talisman that the first miss had drawn could only generate 6 bolts of spiritual lightning. One had to know that each additional bolt of lightning was extremely difficult to obtain. Their talisman aristocratic family had tens of thousands of disciples, but less than 100 of them had mastered the 5-spirit talisman. A little girl who had always lived in a mere lower star field had actually learned the thunder spirit talisman on her own. The white-haired old man's heart stirred slightly. The old master had indeed found the right person to send the 7th master to search for this young lady. Previously, he had always been somewhat dissatisfied, because in the past 10 years, he had been accompanying 7th master everywhere to find a child that was basically impossible to find. It was very troublesome, and it even delayed his own cultivation. If it weren't for the fact that the old family head had secretly bestowed him with a lot of cultivation resources, he wouldn't have been too happy to accompany the 7th master on this trip. But now, all these thoughts had vanished without a trace. A 15-year-old genius little girl who could skillfully draw thunder spirit talismans. If they brought her back to the Divine Lands, after a period of careful nurturing, she would definitely become a core member of the talisman aristocratic family in the future. Chapter 1278. In the future, it wasn't impossible for her to assist eldest young master in controlling the entire talisman patrician family and lead them to the pinnacle of the divine mainland. Thinking of this, the white-haired elder's mood surged. It was as if he could already see the scene of the talisman patrician family reaching the pinnacle of life. The current talisman patrician family was neither high nor low among the 6 great patrician families of the divine mainland and could only rank 3rd or 4th. Not to mention the divine mainland's Qin family, their position as the head of the 6 great patrician families was unshakable. Even the Duan family, the number 2 concealed weapons patrician family, couldn't compare. And if their clan could produce a young genius like Qiao Mu, then it would be hard to say how they would develop in the future. Qiao Mu dispelled the defensive boundary and gazed apathetically at those 2 body cultivators. Someone throw them out. Yes. The servants of the Qiao family rushed forward in high spirits, kicking and punching the 2 body cultivators and dragging them out like dead pigs. Only after tossing them far away did they stop. Eldest Miss was truly formidable. In the Qiao family, the same thought surfaced simultaneously. As long as eldest Miss was here, no matter who dared to come and cause trouble, they would only have a miserable end. Mu Jingrui looked deeply at Arbor and softly chuckled. The crown princess is truly an eye-opener. Arbor ignored him and turned to the dumbstruck second Uncle Qiao. Second uncle, it's fine now. Everyone, please take a seat. Right. Take a seat. Take a seat. Emolien reached out to squeeze his wifey's hand before leaving with Qiao Zhongbang and the rest. As for the womenfolk, Wei Ziqin arranged for them to take their seats. After such a commotion, everyone's interest waned. Fortunately, nothing else happened during the banquet, so the guests and hosts enjoyed themselves thoroughly. Arbor glanced at Pu Rulin and gave Xiao Lin a look. Xiao Lin immediately understood and intimately hugged Pu Rulin's arm. Cousin, don't be unhappy. There's no reason for you to be in a bad mood because of that cheap man. Alright, cousin, what's your cultivation level now? My aptitude isn't high. I've always hovered around level 5 Mystic Cultivator. What does it matter? I'm only a level 6 Mystic Cultivator and have just touched the barrier of level 7 Mystic Cultivator. I don't even know when I'll be able to break through. Being teased by her younger cousin, Pu Rulin's dejected mood involuntarily improved a little, and she said with a smile, "Younger sister, you're still young. At your age, you're about to break through to become a level 7 Mystic Cultivator. Your talent and aptitude must be very impressive." Of course. Xiao Lin giggled as she pulled Pu Rulin's hand and said, "Cousin, when we're free, why don't we exchange our cultivation experiences with each other? Who knows, we might be able to help each other." Very good, very good. Pu Rulin also knew that her cousin was deliberately changing the topic to make her happy. As he thought about it, his heart couldn't help but warm up a bit. He turned to look at the little stoic sitting on the side and eating. He pursed his lips and said with a smile, "Younger cousin, just now, I've troubled you." The little stoic's small hand holding the chopsticks paused, and she shook her head with a serious expression. It's no trouble. I'm bored anyway. Wasn't it pretty good that someone delivered themselves to her door to help her practice talismans? Wei Ziqin almost choked on her daughter's words. Arbor ate a few more times when she suddenly saw a huge egg abruptly jump out of her inner world and shriek, "Woman! Hurry, hurry! I smell the scent of black spirit jade." Chapter 1279. What Black Spirit Jade? Arbor stared in bewilderment at the egg that had suddenly jumped out. The egg anxiously howled at her. "Hurry, hurry, you idiot! I told you to hurry and get up. Why can't you understand me? Hurry and carry me, go over there, over there. I really can smell the scent of black spirit jade. Hurry, hurry." Arbor couldn't help but feel a bit of a headache after being yelled at by the egg. She went forward and hugged it, then ran in the direction it was pointing at. What black spirit jade? Tell me clearly. Why did the profound spirit jade sound so familiar? Sister, I'll go with you. Seeing that there was a show to watch, Shaolin immediately stopped eating and casually took 2 bites of food before hastily getting up to chase after Arbor. Wei Ziqin turned to look at Xiao Yao, who was standing beside her, with a puzzled expression. Xiao Yao covered her mouth and laughed. "Don't worry, madam. It should be fine. Miss will probably be back soon." However, Wei Ziqin asked, "That's a talking egg?" She turned her gaze and saw that the madams and young misses at this table also revealed slightly shocked expressions. It was clear that she wasn't the only one who felt that her child was a bit strange. "Amen, it's an ancient phoenix egg," Xiao Yao said with a nod. In any case, this matter was no longer a secret, so there was no need to cover it up. When the 8 great patrician families returned from the Mystic Beast Forest, they were all spreading the news that Miss had obtained a phoenix egg. As for Arbor, she hugged that chirping phoenix egg and ran in the direction it was pointing. After running for a while, she stopped and asked with a puzzled expression, "That's the front courtyard. What are we going there for? So long-winded." The egg shouted, "I told you to go, so go. What's with all the nonsense? Let's go." Arbor. Strange, these words sound somewhat familiar. Qiao Mu hugged the egg and swiftly ran to the front courtyard's entrance. She poked her small head inside the arched door and saw that nearly 100 tables had been set up in the court, and her father and second uncle were glowing from drinking with others. She hurriedly retracted her little head and hugged the egg as she asked seriously, "I remember now, that black spirit jade. Chocho told me about it before. It was said to be an extremely rare heavenly treasure that could replenish the energy of the 5 spirits. What use is it to you?" Look at how excited the egg was. "Profound spirit jade is a great supplement and is also very beneficial to me. What does a kid like you know? Hurry up and go. As long as I absorb the profound spirit jade, I can break out of my shell." "You're the kid." Arbor stretched out its little paw and knocked on the egg. Then, he regretted it. She didn't know what kind of broken egg it was, but it was as hard as a diamond. When she knocked on it, her 2 fingers hurt. Go. What a big shot, Arbor thought. You're about to break out of your shell, yet you're still yelling at people all day long. If only this guy could be cooked thoroughly. What are you doing? The egg yelled. Arbor hurriedly reached out to cover it. Suddenly, she realized that the egg couldn't cover its mouth at all. Can't you communicate telepathically? Are you trying to attract everyone here? Arbor scolded it in annoyance. An invisibility talisman appeared on her fingertips. The egg muttered in disdain, "And you're sneaking around. What are you afraid of? Go over now and ask that person for the black spirit jade. If he doesn't give it to you, I'll beat him up for you." Arbor. Why does she want to beat me to death? Chapter 1280. Hurry and go. Don't be so long-winded. Arbor slapped an invisibility talisman on the egg. Preposterous. This lord has always been upright, and I've never done anything unscrupulous. Even if I'm robbing, I'll rob openly and attract the attention of the world. Abba couldn't be bothered with it and threatened, if you yell again and attract people here, I'll go back. Who cares about your black spirit jade? The egg didn't utter a word. It couldn't be helped. People had to lower their heads under someone else's roof. Little Master was so unreliable. She had already picked it up for so long, but she didn't take the initiative to ask how to hatch it. It could only rely on itself. But speaking of which, although this master was deceitful, she was still obedient. She told her to come find the black spirit jade, so she followed. Why was it flying? The egg unexpectedly discovered that it had been kicked out by that deceitful master and landed steadily next to a table. It rolled past several people's legs without touching anyone. *** kicked me again. You know best what the black spirit jade looks like. Hurry and come back immediately after picking it up. My invisibility talisman is only an intermediate level talisman and can hide for about 15 minutes. Hurry up and don't let anyone discover you. After the two communicated mentally, the egg was so angry that it almost fainted. What the egg wanted the most right now was to kill this unreliable fellow. His little master actually told him, an egg, to steal the black spirit jade from the crowd. Was there anything more unreliable than this? If he had hands and feet right now, he would definitely kick her to the outer star domain. It simply made him speechless. Auber secretly stuck an invisibility talisman on herself and leaned against the wall to look around. From her position, she could see Duan Yu, Mo Lien, and Situ Yi. She also saw eldest Qin, Omega Kotoku, and many other patrician families' patriarchs and young masters. What a joke. With her cultivation realm, she naturally wouldn't foolishly stick an invisibility talisman on herself and walk in front of Mo Lien, Duan Yu, and the others. Because it was useless. She wouldn't foolishly run in and invite ridicule. She found a more secluded place, where she peeped at her eggs. The egg really was exceptionally nimble. There were several times when it looked like someone's foot was about to step on its shell, but it would roll over. It continuously rolled past several tables and headed towards the table next to Mo Lien's. The table next to Mo Lien's was filled with the young masters of the 8 great clans. Auber surreptitiously observed and discovered that the place that idiot was rolling over just so happened to be in eldest Qin's direction. That black spirit jade couldn't be on eldest Qin's body, right? It would be a miracle if an idiot could steal it. Auber flicked the non-existent dust off his robe and calmly turned around to leave. You actually ran away? I feel that you are getting further and further away from me. Why are you going? Let me tell you. Come back quickly. If you don't come back, I'm going to scream. I will scream with all my might. Damned woman. Come back. Go ahead and shout. You shout. What's the use of shouting so loudly? You'll just be discovered and beaten up by a group. You're actually my master. The egg wailed loudly in her conscience, deeply hurt. Accompanied by the little fat squirrel's ha 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 in the background, the egg jumped in anger and burrowed under the tablecloth. Black spirit jade, it saw the black spirit jade hanging on that man's waist. Chapter 1281. If it had hands right now, it could immediately rip that black spirit jade off her body. It was all that D***MN Lass's fault. She actually kicked an egg inside and left it to fend for itself. So infuriating. Swoosh. The tablecloth was lifted, and a sharp gaze suddenly landed on it. Wah! Master, I've been discovered. The egg shrank back in fright and rolled toward Emolien's table. Prince Mo, who was currently speaking with his father-in-law, suddenly caught sight of something round in the corner of his eyes. When he focused his gaze, his mouth involuntarily twitched. He saw that phoenix egg rolling toward him in a very human-like manner, running frantically the entire way. When it saw him, it was as if it saw a brother it hadn't seen in 800 years. Duan Yu was holding a wine cup in one hand as he crossed his slender legs and chatted with Situ Yi about his last trip to the Mystic Beast Forest. He suddenly caught sight of the two young sirs from the Qin estate at the neighboring table from the corner of his eye, and his gaze abruptly shot over. He creased his brows and glanced over. However, he discovered that those two weren't glaring at them, but seemed to be following those two's gazes. He saw a large egg rolling swiftly and nimbly to Emolien's side before ducking under the tablecloth on their table. It was a very large egg. Eldest young Sir Qin's eyes brightened as he seemed to have thought of something. He then stood up with a grin and strode toward Emolien. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, please make way." "What are you doing?" Prince Mo stretched out his long leg to stop eldest young Sir Qin from lifting the tablecloth. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, that egg just now was sneakily rolling past me. I suspect that it wants to steal something from me." The Crown Prince couldn't maintain his solemn and aloof expression for a moment, and he burst into laughter. "You're crazy. What can an egg steal from you?" On the side, Duan Yu was also laughing so hard that he propped his forehead with his hand. "Hey, I say, eldest Qin, you forgot to take your medicine when you went out today, right?" "Ha ha ha." Situ couldn't hold back and also guffawed along. The eldest young master glanced at them with a faint smile. "That egg kept rolling back and forth beside my feet. I have reason to suspect that it is up to no good." Qiao Zhongbong's mouth twitched, and he hastily smoothed things over with a smile. "Eldest young Master Qin, are you mistaken? Where are the eggs?" "There are no eggs, no eggs." Situ laughed loudly. He couldn't help it. Why did he feel that this conversation was so strange? "There's an egg, and it's under your tablecloth. You'll know once you lift it up." The eldest young master smiled and opened a folding fan, gently waving it. The cinnabar in the middle of his forehead flashed slightly under the sunlight, appearing extremely enchanting. Before Emolien could stop him, second Uncle Qiao, who had drunk a few cups, lifted most of the tablecloth with a whoosh. Everyone poked their heads together and looked under the table. Immediately, they burst into laughter. "No eggs. Where are the eggs?" "No eggs." "Ha ha ha ha." Duan Yu crooked his head in laughter, and his peach blossom eyes, which were suffused with a cold glint, probed eldest young Master Qin up and down. He blinked and chuckled. "Hey, are you picking a fight, HM? Fourth Duan, I don't believe you didn't see it." See what?" Qiao Zhongbong was baffled. The bottom of the table was completely empty. There wasn't even a speck of bird poop, let alone an egg. "I didn't see it." Duan Yu shook his head. "Ask Xiao Mo if you don't believe me." Chapter 1282. Prince Mo nodded solemnly. "I didn't see anything." Eldest Qin's mouth twitched, and he also guffawed. The Crown Prince and Fourth Duan both need to have their eyes checked, right? Bam! Second Uncle Qiao abruptly slapped the table and stood up, his face flushed from drunkenness. He pointed at eldest young Sir Qin and exclaimed, "You're the one who needs to have your eyes checked. What do you want to do? Where's the egg? Where's the egg? There's only an idiot like you." Everyone. Emolien face-bombed as she stifled her laughter, unable to restrain it. Second Uncle was too comical. He was drunk after 3 cups. She already told him to stop drinking, but he still drank so much. Second young Master Do hastily walked over and mediated. All right, eldest young Master Qin and second uncle of the Qiao family are both a bit drunk. Let's not bother about those balls. Today is second uncle of the Qiao family's big day. Hey. It's fine if other people have poor eyesight. It's too fake if His Highness the Crown Prince, fourth young Sir Duan, and brother Situ all pretended not to see. Eldest young Sir Qin waved the fan in his hand and said with a grin, "How about we wait here for a while and see if it will show its true form?" "I don't know what you're talking about." Duan Yu resisted the urge to burst into laughter and forcefully lowered the tablecloth. Eldest young Sir Qin reached out to stop him, but Duan Yu immediately kicked out. Seeing that these two were about to fight for no reason, Qiao Zhongbong quickly went up to stop them. "Let's talk things out. During this chaotic moment, a white light suddenly flitted past everyone's eyes. It was so fast that they could only see a bit of round fur. That speed was simply comparable to a bolt of lightning. It brushed past eldest young Sir Chin's waist and swiftly leaped onto the roof, disappearing in a few breaths. When eldest young Sir reached out to touch it, a strange smile appeared on his face. Omega Kotoku had been sitting at the table without moving from start to finish. Her eyes flickered, and she stood up to walk towards eldest young Sir. "Now you see it, right? My jade pendant was stolen." Eldest young Sir looked at Prince Emo and Duan Yu with a sardonic smile. The two shameless fellows shook their heads at the same time. "Nope." "Ha ha ha." Situi laughed awkwardly. Just as he was about to speak, he heard the drunk second Uncle Chow exclaim, "Eh? There's really an egg." After a quarter of an hour, the egg appeared. It immediately moved towards its teammates, Emolien, Duan Yu, and Situi. "Ha!" Eldest young Sir Chin applauded with a chuckle. "You all see now, right? This young Sir already said that the Crown Prince and fourth Duan should be the ones getting their eyes checked. Duan Yu, the Crown Princess has arrived." At this moment, the two guards guarding the small arched door in the front yard saw the Crown Princess's figure flash past. It was as if their brains had short-circuited for 3 seconds before suddenly reconnecting. They hurriedly shouted at the crowd. The young Crown Prince consort flew over and looked expressionlessly at the crowd. Emolien immediately went up to him, her eyes narrowed into slits. "Jojo, are you looking for your husband?" "I'm not looking for you, I'm looking for the egg." Emolien, Duan Yu guffawed and looked at Emolien mockingly. "Your status is even lower than an egg." Scram! Emolien threw him a cold glance. As they spoke, Abba had already walked up and bent down to pick up the egg on the ground without a ripple of emotion in his eyes. He turned his head and suddenly sent a palm strike over, shouting sternly at eldest young Sir Chin, "You hit it, everyone." Chapter 1283. The eldest young Sir's mouth twitched, and he hastily dodged to the side. Arbor kicked over half of the table. Before it could flip over, Emolien held it down with one hand. Bam! The table didn't move. "Why did you hit my eggs?" Arbor coldly glanced at eldest young Sir Chin. "You better give me a very good reason. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death." Everyone. Situi was laughing so hard that his stomach hurt and didn't want to answer. "Since it's your egg, why did it sneak into the forecourt on its own?" The eldest young Sir looked at this little fellow in amusement. What should he do when he felt that this stoic face was a bit amusing? Arbor was expressionless. "Taking a walk. Taking a walk? Taking a walk?" Her dad, Chow Zhongbong, couldn't help but twitch his eyebrows. He wanted to cry on the inside. His daughter didn't even know how to find a more normal reason to lie. "An egg." The eldest young Sir's smile widened. "What do you know? Taking a walk will help it hatch." Arbor hugged her huge egg and turned to walk outside. She even threw them a very disdainful look. "Ignorant and ill-informed people like you who don't have eggs won't understand. Move aside, don't block the way." Everyone. This sentence didn't sound too pleasant to the ears. "Crown Princess, come back and explain things clearly. Who doesn't have eggs?" After a while, Duan Yu finally sputtered with laughter. He pointed at the stiff-faced eldest young Sir Chin and guffawed. "You don't have eggs? Ha 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 ha. Crown Prince, have the Crown Princess come back and explain things clearly." The eldest young Sir exclaimed at Prince Emo, both amused and exasperated. Prince Emo turned his head away with a guffaw, too lazy to bother with him. Arbor could still hear Duan Yu and the rest's wild laughter even after walking out of the courtyard for a long time. She inwardly cursed, "Crazy." She forcefully knocked on the egg. "Can you come out immediately after absorbing that piece of black spirit jade?" "How is that possible? I need at least 1,000 pieces of black spirit jade to come out of the egg. Do you think I'm a weakling like you humans? I need a lot of profound spirit jade. Abba's little face darkened when he heard this. He glared at her and said, "Then why did you spend so much effort to steal that piece of black spirit jade from eldest Cheen? Are you crazy? What's the use of this cup of water? What's the point of stealing it? It's better to have a piece than to have none. After absorbing this piece, you only need 999 pieces, right?" The egg said with conviction. Abba didn't say anything and tossed the egg up. The egg screamed, "Woman, you're going to kick again." With a kick, the egg was sent flying. 2 hours later, the egg rolled back strenuously. When it saw the little fellow lying on the bed with a comfortable expression, it couldn't help but be so angry that its lungs hurt. It was infuriating to have such an unscrupulous master. It was just asking her to find a piece of profound spirit jade, but look at how worried she was. She actually kicked it so far away, causing it to bounce back for a long time. The egg angrily sat in its little nest of cotton and didn't utter a single word for a long time. Abba hugged a fruit platter as she lay on the bed and ate. "Rather than wasting so much effort to steal a piece of profound spirit jade, why don't you tell me how you're going to find a piece of profound spirit jade? Why don't you tell me where this kind of profound spirit jade vein is and I'll go dig it out?" The originally listless egg suddenly bounced out of the pile of cotton and exclaimed excitedly, Why you're willing to find profound spirit jade for me." Abba's hand that was peeling a banana paused. Chapter 1284. Looking at the big egg that had hopped onto her bed, she raised a small hand and stroked its eggshell very tenderly. The phoenix egg inexplicably felt its hairs stand on end, and its eggshell shook and trembled. A white furry ball abruptly jumped into her arms, holding eldest young Sir Cheen's jade pendant in its mouth. Abba reached out and took it down. She flipped it over and over to examine it, but couldn't see anything special about it. It looked like an ordinary white jade pendant. "Are you sure this is some kind of black spirit jade?" The egg bounced around and said repeatedly, "Of course. Master, inject mystic energy into it and peel off its outer layer." Abba did as she was told and quickly peeled off the jade pendant's outer layer, revealing a piece of warm white jade half the size of her palm. It emitted a faint silver glow. That egg immediately hopped over and urged, Master, quickly place this piece of black spirit jade on my eggshell." Abba nodded and threw the black spirit jade onto the egg. In the span of a few breaths, that piece of black spirit jade was sucked into the phoenix egg and disappeared into the air. Abba tilted her head to look at that egg that was no longer noisy and had become very quiet. She observed it for a while and saw that it didn't move. Only then did she put down the fruit platter in her hands and plan to take a leisurely afternoon nap. After the Chow family finished preparing for second uncle's wedding, they did their best to cooperate with the palace in preparing for her wedding. Abba was idle again these 2 days. She holed herself up in her room every day to draw talismans, and her talisman arts had improved greatly. On this day, when he was taking a nap, the 12 jade slips that were quietly staying in his spiritual pool suddenly lit up. The 7th jade slip flew out and unfurled, rows of small characters floating on it. The little fellow in her sleep quickly absorbed them all. Abba abruptly opened her eyes and looked at the hazy floating muslin above her head. Her gaze was somewhat vacant. Had she broken through to yellow-level Talisman Master? It hadn't been that long since she broke through to high-rank Talisman Master, but she had broken through to yellow-level Talisman Master so quickly. This greatly surprised her, but also made her somewhat happy. Being a yellow-grade Talisman Master meant that she had already entered the world of Talisman Masters. The current her already had the absolute qualifications to stand in front of everyone and say that she was a great Talisman Master. She rolled over and got up from the bed. Her eyes became clear in an instant. Then, she used her holy sense to look at the newly learned magic charm in her conscious. After advancing to yellow-grade Symbol Master, only one demonstration talisman floated down. Abba picked it up and looked at it. It was a deity summoning talisman, summons a celestial spirit to the world. It can assist in battle for 2 hours. This should be the powerful talisman that the small monk had mentioned earlier. Abba stood up excitedly and then stood beside the table. He used his spiritual sense to check the talisman spell's hidden jade slip and found that a new talisman spell had appeared. Puppet charm. As long as the person under the charm gives it a hint, it will obey orders for 7 days. Of course, there was a prerequisite for this kind of charm technique. Her cultivation had to be 3 levels higher than the other party. Otherwise, it was very easy for the incantation to fail, and the consequences of the backlash was something that no talisman master could bear. The appearance of the person under the puppet charm didn't change in the slightest. Their behavior was also no different from that of a normal person. Arbor seemed to be thinking about something. Xiang Yuanyuan's chubby face inexplicably appeared in her mind. Could it be like what she thought? This thought only appeared in her mind for a moment before she cast it aside. Chapter 1285. Xiao Mu carefully read through the contents of that jade slip again and also obtained a piece of information. When the 8th jade slip was opened, she should be able to learn profound-level talisman charms. In addition, once she stepped into the profound-level talisman master realm, she would be able to draw jade talismans. Drawing jade talismans symbolized a great leap in the great talisman master realm. The talisman power of jade talismans was estimated to be 3 times greater than that of ebony talismans. There was a trace of excitement on the little fellow's face. She picked up the gold-beaded talisman pen, took out 2 ebony pieces, and began to learn how to draw deity-inviting talismans. That demonstration talisman was drawn really well. Speaking of which, who was so considerate to draw a demonstration talisman for her for every new talisman she learned? Arbor immersed herself in drawing new talismans. After stepping into the yellow-level talisman master realm, the difficulty of drawing deity-inviting talismans had greatly increased compared to the high-level and mid-level talismans from before. She needed to devote all her attention to it. Soon, she entered a completely selfless state. Wei Ziqin, Qiao Lin, Emolien, and the others came to see her one after another, but she didn't notice at all. It was as if she was in a completely vacuum environment, turning a deaf ear to what was happening around her. Drawing this deity-inviting talisman took her all the way until late at night. After failing no less than 30 times, near dawn, Arbor finally succeeded in drawing a deity-inviting talisman. Only then did she let out a long sigh of relief. Holding the deity-inviting talisman she drew and comparing it with the demonstration talisman, she felt that there were still a lot of shortcomings. This senior was obviously much more proficient in drawing deity-inviting talismans than her. Although she also began to gradually become proficient after repeated failures, she still somewhat despised herself when compared. Forget it, let's leave it at that for today. Arbor put away the 2 deity-inviting talismans and rubbed her small flat stomach. Her nose suddenly sniffed, as if she smelled the fragrance of chopped green onions. Here, a bowl of piping hot wontons. A slender hand held a large blue and white porcelain bowl in front of her. Arbor raised her head and saw that fellow's face leaning over, smiling at her. Arbor picked up the bowl of hot wontons and glanced at him. He took a bite and asked, "When did you get here?" "Sigh, I've been here for half a day." It was just that a certain someone had been immersed in drawing talismans, completely ignoring the outside world. She left her husband to the side and ignored him. Arbor drank 2 mouthfuls of soup and felt his stomach warm up. His big eyes twinkled. "It's delicious. Of course. This is not just a simple bowl of wonton. What's so special about it?" Apart from the delicious taste, the wonton was just the right size to be eaten in one bite. On the other end, the man winked at her. "I put all my love into this. Can't you tell?" Arbor pursed his lips and rolled his eyes. "You're always so talkative." Emolien chuckled and rubbed her head. "Jojo, let me tell you something. At daybreak, I will head to Jiaozhong Defense Base. I estimate that it will take about 10 days to get back to the capital." Arbor paused with the spoon in her hand. "Where are you going?" Emolien smiled. "It's nothing big. Just a routine inspection." "Liar." Arbor puffed up her cheeks and looked at him angrily. "Tell me the truth. What a lousy excuse." She wasn't stupid. Chapter 1286. What's the point of a child being so smart? Emo Lien sighed helplessly. He lifted his hand and placed the little fellow on his lap. Wrapping his arms around her, he said softly, "A bit of trouble has cropped up. Jiaozhong Defense Base's water source has been secretly destroyed by someone. Just like you said before, they've started attacking the water source. You didn't take proper precautions?" Arba looked at Emo Lien worriedly. "That's a small, remote base, so its defenses definitely can't be as watertight as the large bases around the Emo Kingdom capital. Even Little Seven has to fly for about 3 days from the Emo Kingdom capital." Emo Lien gently tucked the strands of hair by her cheek behind her head and smiled with narrowed eyes. "Jojo, don't worry. Hubby will rush back within 10 days. I definitely won't miss our wedding." Arba cast him a displeased glance. "I'll go with you." "No, that place is too far, and the situation is unclear. It's a bit dangerous." Emo Lien hugged her and said, "Be good and listen." Arba looked up at him. "If you don't bring me along, I'll secretly follow you." Emo Lien didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked down at her and said, "So naughty." Arba reached out and hugged his waist with her small paws. "Let's go together." "Why are you so annoying?" Emo Lien looked like he couldn't do anything about her. He leaned his jade-like forehead over and rubbed it left and right. "Annoying. Annoying. Let's go together." The Imperial Court issued a cleanup mission for Jiaozhong Base. "There will be many people accompanying me. There's nothing to worry about, Jojo. Just stay here obediently and happily prepare to be my bride. Let's go together." The little fellow's eyes were round and wide as he looked at him with dissatisfaction. Emo Lien couldn't help but be at his wits' end. When this little fellow was stubborn, even 18 horses couldn't drag her back. "I'm just going to take a look at the situation there. Specifically, it's not that dangerous." The little fellow's little eyes couldn't help but sweep up and down his body. He pursed his little mouth and harumphed angrily. His face was taut and he didn't say anything. Emo Lien was at her wits' end when it came to this little emperor baby. She sighed and reached out to cup her little face. She mumbled, "All right, all right, all right. Let's go together." He really couldn't dissuade this little fellow. It was too annoying. Arba jumped down from his body, opened the closet, and took out several pieces of clothes, shoes, and socks that he usually wore. He stuffed them into the bag, threw it over his shoulder, and ran to Emo Lien. "Let's go." "Emo Lien. My Jojo, we're leaving at dawn." "It's still early." Emo Lien didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He wrapped his arms around her waist and carried her to the bed. "Let's sleep for a while before we set off." Arba glanced at him suspiciously. "You didn't sneak away while I was asleep, did you?" The two of them lay in bed with their clothes on. Emo Lien turned to look at his little wife and shook his head in amusement. "Since I've already promised you, I won't go back on my word." "Humph." Arba still felt a little uneasy. She reached out her little hand to grab a lock of his long hair and held it tightly in her hand. She snuggled into his arms and found a comfortable position. She cheered softly. "Sleep. Emo Lien. You're sleeping comfortably." Poor thing. His whole body stiffened as he lay there. His nose was filled with the little fellow's alluring sweet scent. Chapter 1287. Amused, Emo Lien hugged the little thing stiffly and tossed and turned for a while. She didn't know when she fell asleep. While she was in a daze, she could hear the sound of someone talking briskly in her ears. Arba lifted her heavy eyelids and dazedly opened her eyes to look around. She suddenly discovered that she was surrounded by a vast expanse of clouds and mist. "You're awake." Emo Lien's amused voice rang by her ears. Arba's spirits were roused, and she shifted her small body. Only then did she realize that she was sitting on the dragon's back and nestled in Emo Lien's arms. When she turned her head, she saw many familiar faces. Senior Brother Situ, Senior Sister Liang. Jojo, you're awake. Liang Qingqing, who was gnawing on a corn cob, gave her a wide grin with 2 corn kernels stuck to the corners of her mouth. Morning, Jojo. There was also a white fox the size of a small mountain flying next to the dragon. Duan Yu was sitting cross-legged on the fox's head and looked down at the bewildered arbor with a wave of his hand. The little fellow's gaze swept over, and she couldn't look away. She stared at that large furry fox and extended her small paw. Mo Lien grasped her paw in his hand at once and swept Duan Yu a disdainful glance. Stay away, Chestnut. Duan Yu's eyes lit up, and he asked with a grin, Jojo, do you want to come over and sit? Arbor blinked and was about to nod in agreement when the golden dragon swung its tail and shot its long body far away. The group of people sitting on the dragon's back all jolted, and they hastily wailed as they steadied themselves. F*CK. You petty Mo Lien. Duan Yu pointed forward. Chestnut, Chestnut, chase. Chestnut strode forward with its chubby legs, and its large body shot forward several kilometers with a kick of its hind legs, closely following Little Seven's speed. This time, Mo Lien recruited 100 members to accompany her on the cleanup operation at Jiaozhong Base. Every one of them was at least a great mystic cultivator at level 11 or above. There were 4 people with special abilities, and all of them had extraordinary hearing and speed. Among the party, Little Six Zheng didn't participate. Not long after he returned from the Mystic Beast Forest, he broke through to become a great level 10 mystic cultivator. Soon after, he returned to the forest and went alone to find a suitable mystic beast to contract. Arbor just woke up and turned to ask Mo Lien, have we been flying for a while? Fortunately, it's only been an hour. Mo Lien lowered her head and glanced at the little fellow. Eat some dry food to fill your stomach first. We can only find a place to stay at night. The little fellow took out the minced meat and cornbread that she always kept in her pocket. After eating 2 of them, she was a little full. Is the situation at Jiaozhong Base rather serious? Yes, Mo Lien nodded. 4 hours ago, I received a message from a member of the Night Pavilion. There's no more information now. I suspect that he probably met with a mishap. Arbor's small face tensed up as she nodded and said, It seems there's some trouble. Mo Lien reached out to rub her small face and whispered to her with a smile, Don't worry. Besides the 100 great mystic cultivators recruited, I've already instructed the Hidden Night Pavilion to dispatch 3,000 disciples to secretly hurry over here. There shouldn't be any major problems. Mo Lien looked ahead indifferently. It shouldn't have been long since the entire Jiaozhong base was breached. I think we need to summarize the lessons learned this time and nip the problem in the bud. Chapter 1288. Arbor nodded in agreement. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win 100 battles. Currently, they didn't even know who that organization was and had always been in a passive position. It was indeed time for them to get in touch with them and understand more. The Golden Dragon flew for 3 days and 2 nights on this trip to Jiaozhong Base. During this time, they only rested twice and cooked some food. Occasionally, they would encounter a few blind zombies, but they were quickly dealt with. Arbor didn't need to worry at all. When they were 5 kilometers away from Jiaozhong Base, they could see a group of refugees frantically running toward them. These people should be the survivors of Jiaozhong Base. Compared to the original tens of thousands of people in Jiaozhong Base, there were probably less than 3,000 people who had escaped. Moreover, the most worrying thing was that there might be infected people hidden among them. They could mutate at any time and harm another group of people. After these refugees escaped from Jiaozhong Base, they would definitely rush to the largest base nearby, Rice City Base. However, the city lord of Rice City's fortification might not allow them to enter the city immediately due to safety reasons. That was for sure. It wasn't that the city lord of Rice City Base was selfish. As the city lord, he had to consider his own citizens in all aspects. His priority would definitely be his own base. And if these 3,000 people continued to wait in hunger and fear, who knew what would happen? Little Seven, go down. Mo Lien pointed down. It was only 2 to 4 hours of walking from here to Jiaozhong Base. Looking up from here, they could see that Jiaozhong Base seemed to be shrouded in a layer of boundless black fog in the distance. It had completely evolved into a ghost town. Emolien pursed his lips tightly and suppressed a trace of anger in his heart. This was the underground organization's provocation. Previously, he had picked 2 of the underground organization's strongholds. One was the underground village, and the other was the large stronghold in the Mystic Beast Forest. After several days, the underground organization began to counterattack, wanting to teach him a lesson. He guessed that this was the reason why Jiaozhong Base had been attacked. There were so many bases in the country. It was impossible for him to pay attention to all of them. For such a small and remote base, their defenses definitely weren't as good as the large fortifications. Even though he had already given the order to pay attention to the water source, there were too many small fortifications that could be taken advantage of. The golden dragon descended from the clouds. Prince Mo carried Arbor and, together with 100 great mystic cultivators behind him, jumped down from the dragon's body and landed lightly on the ground. Among the 3,000 refugees, many of them cried out in surprise as they stared with wide eyes at the group of immortals descending from the sky. Wow! Mother, look at the sky. Wow! A big fox is flying. The fox has ascended to heaven. Duan Yu leaped down, and the 7-tailed heavenly fox chestnut turned into a streak of light that instantly vanished into the mystic beast space inside his body. Little golden dragon Yen Qi also circled in the air, swung his dragon tail, and instantly returned to Emolien's body. A level 7 mystic cultivator strode out from the crowd of refugees and cupped his fists at Emolien and company. He asked with some excitement, You are the great mystic cultivators sent by the imperial court to clean up Jiaozhong Base. Emolien nodded. What is the current situation of the Jiaozhong fortifications? Chapter 1289. This one is Lu Yuan, the second manager of the City Lord's estate in Jiaozhong Fortification. The Level 7 Mystic Cultivator sighed. The City Lord and his wife both passed away in this sudden disaster. At this time, a 7 or 8-year-old boy suddenly rushed out like a calf and crashed headfirst into Emolien and Arbor. He repeatedly complained and shrieked, Why did you come so late? My father and mother are both dead. It's all your fault. It's all your fault for coming so late. It's all your fault for being useless. Useless. Young sir. Lu Yuan hastily strode forward with an awkward expression and dragged over the kicking and crying boy. He apologized to Emolien with a wry smile. This is the City Lord's estate's young sir. Everyone, I'm truly sorry. This child suffered quite a bit of shock because of his parents' deaths. Arbor indifferently glanced at the child. Suddenly, she shook her small hand, and the pitch-black crow repeating crossbow's muzzle aimed at the 7 or 8-year-old boy. Lu Yuan jumped in fright and hastily reached out to grab the boy with his sleeve. He repeatedly retreated several steps with the boy in horror. And no, what are you doing? This miss, why it's our young sir who spoke wildly and didn't know his place. Please spare his life on account that he's just a child. You think I want to kill him because he scolded me? Arbor gazed indifferently at that second manager Lu Yuan. She only felt that this person was very laughable. Although she wasn't a good person, she wasn't so narrow-minded. There was only one reason for her to take action. This child has been infected. Look at his eyes. Based on the extent of his mutation, he'll completely lose his rationality in less than 16 hours. As soon as she said this, the crowd instantly fell silent. Everyone silently retreated in unison, their eyes suffused with traces of horror. The second manager of the City Lord's estate, Lu Yuan, also unwittingly loosened his grip. Then, as if he thought of something, he hugged the child and repeatedly shook his head at Arbor. No, it can't be like this. This miss, you must have seen wrongly, right? You're lying to yourself. Arbor's crow repeating crossbow was ready to fire. He frowned and said, Get out of the way. Don't be soft-hearted. No, I won't back down. The second steward, Lu Yuan, did not know what he was thinking. He only knew that deep in his heart, there was a conviction that supported him. He absolutely had to protect this orphan of the city lord's mansion. He had to protect him. You can't protect it. Aba's voice was cold. Even if you keep him for a few hours now, once the time is up, he will completely mutate. There is no medicine that can cure him. No, there's hope. Miss, since you are so resourceful, you must be able to save him, right? Aba shook his head helplessly. It's hopeless. At least for now, there was nothing she could do. Everyone who was infected and mutated could only watch as he walked step by step into the abyss of death. There was no other way. No. The second steward, Lu Yuan, hugged the boy tightly and retreated step by step. But the group of refugees beside him did not let it go. Seeing that he wanted to shrink back into the crowd, everyone parted to the sides. They couldn't help but mutter, "Second steward, don't harm others." That's right, that child is hopeless. You can't harm all of us for him. Lu Yuan abruptly turned his head and glared at the crowd. Chapter 1290. Don't forget who sacrificed themselves to save so many of your lives. Don't forget who it was that helped you all stall for time so that you could escape from the city. It's the city lord and madam. They led 2,000 death warriors and fought with their lives on the line against the corpse puppets. That's why all of you were able to escape from the city and save your lives. Now, you people want to repay kindness with enmity and send the only orphan of the city lord's mansion to his death? His powerful words made everyone look at each other in dismay. Some people instantly felt a sense of shame in their hearts. However, the young lady said that the young master will mutate in 16 hours? You believe what others say? Lu Yuan said angrily, if we watch the young master get killed today, are we still human? Aba tilted his head and his cold gaze landed on the second manager. Even if you get bitten by him and get infected, you don't care? Lu Yuan held the little boy's shoulders tightly and swallowed his saliva. No, I don't care. Xiao Mu's gaze followed this person's face before sizing him up from head to toe. You seem a bit strange. What do you mean strange? You have ulterior motives towards him. Aba looked at the manager coldly. The second manager shuddered. Under the pressure of that gaze, his legs went soft and he almost fell to the ground. Aba glanced at him but didn't say anything. He put away the crow-repeating crossbow and pulled Emolien's hand. Let's go. This young lady, may I ask, what do we do? Didn't you want to go to the Rice City fortifications? Aba glanced at them indifferently. Continue. A few grumbles came from the crowd. Didn't you come to save us? Why didn't you arrange for us to go to the Rice City fortifications? That's right, that's right. If we go to Rice City's fortifications, we definitely won't be able to enter their gates. We'll have to wait for a period of inspection. Wouldn't that mean that we'll be starving outside the city for a few days? Emolien glanced at them with a half-smile. Isn't this a normal procedure? Just do as I say. It won't take up much of your time. Right now, shouldn't you all be rejoicing that you were able to escape? Liang Qingqing sneered. She crossed her arms and looked at the burly men who were chattering away. A bunch of grown men, chattering like women. If you have so much energy, you should kill a few more zombies. Don't always think about asking others for selfless help. It's as if the whole world is your mother. We don't owe you anything. Hilarious. Everyone had risked their lives to rush to Jiaozhong Defense Base, and the rewards weren't necessarily that great. Let's go. Everyone followed after Emolien and the others in Aba. For some reason, the little boy in Lu Yuan's arms had been glaring at Xiao Mu with a hateful gaze. When Aba walked past them, the little boy jumped up. That boy actually jumped up and pounced on Xiao Mu like a crazed tiger cub, opening his mouth to bite her arm. You're looking to die. Emolien jumped in fright. She didn't expect the little boy to have such a strong desire for revenge, You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.